Setting aside poetry for a moment, are there other things that you would like to write or that you have written?
Well, I shan't say I've become interested in prose. I always was interested in prose. As a teenager, I wrote short stories a lot, and I published short stories. And I always wanted to write the long short story. I wanted to write a novel.
Imagine sitting beneath a fig tree, each branch heavy with ripe purple figs. Each one a different life, a different version of you. A poet, a mother, a brilliant editor, a world traveler. But choosing one means watching the others fall, withered to the ground. This is the torment of Esther Greenwood, the heart of Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar. A novel that lays bare the weight of choice, the suffocation of expectation, and the raw ache of a mind unraveling. In 1953, New York City pulses with glamour and ambition. Esther, a 19-year-old college student from Massachusetts, arrives in Manhattan for a prestigious internship at Ladies' Day magazine. She's bright, talented, and should be thrilled. Yet, she feels hollow, detached like a ghost drifting through a glittering world she can't touch. The city's dazzle feels like a mockery of her inner numbness, a growing sense of being out of place. Esther lives at the Amazon, an all-women's hotel with 11 other interns. She's surrounded by peers but feels isolated. Doreen, a rebellious southern girl who chain smokes and scoffs at the magazine's rigid hierarchy. Together, they venture into the night, meeting a disc jockey named Lenny. But as Doreen and Lenny grow closer, Esther's unease spikes. A sharp pang of despair drives her to flee, walking alone through the city's dark streets, her loneliness a heavy weight. Esther's internship is a parade of moments that should spark joy, but instead deepen her disconnection.
I was supposed to be having the time of my life, but I couldn't feel anything.
A banquet at Ladies' Day ends in disaster. Food poisoning leaves all the interns, including Esther, violently ill. A conversation with JC, the magazine's sharp-eyed editor, leaves her spiraling into self-loathing when asked about her future. What does she want? She doesn't know, and the question feels like a trap. Her encounters with men only deepen her confusion. Constantine, a UN interpreter, takes her to an ethnic restaurant, and for a moment, she imagines losing her virginity to him.
You seem troubled. Is everything all right?
I don't know.
Her former boyfriend. Buddy, a Yale medical student, once charmed her with hospital tours, but his conventional expectations, marriage, stability, feel like a cage. With Constantine, there's a flicker of hope, but their night ends platonically, leaving Esther adrift. Then comes Marco, a Peruvian man Doreen set her up with. He's charming at first, gifting her a diamond pin, but his charm curdles into menace. At a country club, he reveals his obsession with his cousin, then assaults Esther in a sudden violent act. She fights him off, escaping with mud on her hands and fear in her chest. Back at the Amazon, in a moment of reckless release, she hurls her new clothes off the roof, watching them scatter like pieces of a life she can't claim. As the internship ends, Esther returns to her mother's home in Massachusetts, carrying the weight of failure. She learns she wasn't accepted into a writing course she had pinned her hopes on, and the rejection cuts deep. Her academic success, her identity as the good student, crumbles. She stops sleeping, stops writing, stops bathing. Her world shrinks into the blouse and skirts she wears day after day. The fig tree looms in her mind. Each unchosen path, a loss she can't bear. Esther's depression tightens its grip, a suffocating bell jar trapping her thoughts. Her mother sent her to Dr. Gordon, a psychiatrist whose cold demeanor and ineffective shock therapy only heightens her terror. She becomes fixated on suicide. Her attempts, drowning, hanging, faltering until she hides in her home's crawlspace with a bottle of sleeping pills. She swallows them, leaving a note for her mother, claiming she's gone for a walk. Days later, she wakes in a hospital. Her survival, a public spectacle in the newspapers. Philomena Guinea, Esther's college benefactress, steps in, funding her transfer to a private treatment center. There, under the care of Dr. Nolan, a compassionate female psychiatrist, Esther begins to breathe again. Dr. Nolan listens, understands, even when Esther confesses her hatred for her mother. The shock therapy administered with care starts to lift the fog. Esther meets Joanne, a former acquaintance who dated Buddy, and now shares her own struggles with mental illness. Their bond is fragile, complicated by Joanne's attraction to Esther, which Esther doesn't return. Esther's journey isn't linear. She visits Joanne in Boston, meets Erwin, a math professor, and loses her virginity in a moment that feels like reclaiming her body, until it turns painful, ending in a hemorrhage and a rush to the hospital. Joanne, meanwhile, spirals. One morning, Esther learns Joanne has vanished, only to be found later, having taken her life in the woods near the facility. The loss is a gut punch, a reminder of the fragility of recovery. Yet, Esther persists. Dr. Nolan's steady guidance helps her confront her fears, her shame, her anger at a world that demands she choose one fig while letting the others rot. Buddy visits, asking if his own flaws drove both Esther and Joanne to the edge. Esther laughs, a sharp, bittersweet sound, knowing his question misses the mark. They part ways, no longer tethered by expectations of marriage. The bell jar is Sylvia Plath's unflinching portrait of a young woman caught between society's masks and her own truth. Esther's struggle mirrors Plath's own, written with a poet's precision and a survivor's raw honesty. The novel's title comes from Esther's sense of being trapped under glass, her breath fogging the walls of her mind. Yet, there's resilience, a refusal to be reduced to one role, one choice. In the final scene, Esther steps into a room to face the doctors who will decide if she's ready to leave the treatment center. She calls it a ritual of being born twice, patched, retreated, and approved for the road. It's not a triumphant ending, but it's not despairing either. It's a step forward, carrying the weight of her choices and the hope that she can keep becoming, even as the figs fall. Plath's own life ended tragically in 1963, a month after the Bell Jar's UK publication, under the pseudonym Victoria Lucas. The novel, published under her name in 1967, remains a testament to her courage in naming the unnameable: mental illness, societal pressure, the paralyzing fear of choosing a life. Esther's story asks us to confront our own fig trees, to water the grass where we stand, and to find meaning in the flux of who we are. Thank you for joining us in exploring the bell jar. If this story resonates with you, share it, reflect on it, and let it remind you that even in our darkest moments, there's a chance to grow, to transform, and to choose again.